The Queensland Police Union has warned that if gun laws are watered down in that state, more people will die as a result of gun crime. The prediction came after the Queensland government announced that a new Weapons Advisory Council will find ways to cut red tape for gun owners and potential owners. And late today, the Newman government made a concession on the issue. John Stewart reports.
In April, a shooting at this Gold Coast shopping centre prompted the Newman government to crack down on bikie gangs and increase penalties for those caught with illegal firearms. The move was welcomed by the Queensland Police, but today the creation of a new advisory council to cut the bureaucracy faced by gun owners brought a different response.
If we dampen down the standards, we are going to be in a world of hurt, and we will see people being murdered when they shouldn't be. And as I know in Queensland since 2000, 50% of the police that were slain on duty, it was by two people who had a firearms licence. That's not good enough.
The Queensland Premier is backing shooting groups who say that gun licensing is bogged down in red tape.
You don't have to completely reapply to register a motor vehicle every year. But, that's pretty much what you're doing with the gun laws.
The times have blown out for processing some of these applications to anything up to 12 months, which clearly is totally unacceptable.
The police union says the new Weapons Advisory Council has been stacked with gun business owners and sporting shooters groups. The 6 members of the council include the Firearms Dealers Association of Queensland, the Queensland Shooters Association, the Sporting Shooters Association of Australia, the International Coalition for Women in Shooting and Hunting, the Shooters Union, and Hall's Firearms Dealers in Townsville. At first, the Queensland Police Union was not included, but today the Premier made a late change.
I'm a bit surprised that actually Ian Levers hasn't been invited onto that council, and I'll talk to Jack Dempsey, the Police Minister, and say I think if he wants to be on it, he should. And that's I think it's one of those oversights.
The police union says that speeding up gun licensing and registration will compromise community safety.
Checks not only need to be done in the home state, but maybe across the nation and in other parts of the world.
The Queensland Premier denies that changes to firearms registration will lead to watering down of gun laws.
There will be no weakening of gun laws. End of story.
But the Sporting Shooters Association wants broader reforms to gun laws in Queensland and other states, and says while the laws introduced after the Port Arthur massacre were necessary, it's time for a change.
Yes, there is scope for reviewing the items and the issues that were over-regulated, and there may well be issues that could be further regulated. But certainly it is appropriate to renew it 15 years down the track with evidence that has been gained. There has to be scope for review of this sort of legislation.
But the Queensland Police Union says the laws should not change.
And John Howard, I'll give it to him on this. He led the scene, he led the change in Australia, and we should never ever forget what has occurred in the past and the reason why we have such stringent policies and procedures in place.
Anti-gun groups want the new Queensland Weapons Council to also include criminologists and doctors. John Stewart, Late Line.